No, it's not that. I was saying. Yeah, I think it was a 1 minute before you arrived. The folder is not. Yeah, no.
What's the time? No. Okay, so 2 3 minutes. 2 3 minutes. Let's try to push through. They send it in the memorial, but they didn't go to.
Yeah. It looks good.
Then ask if you will see the branch rolls of the book of plastic and we should on that again.
Oh. So you're gonna record and you can share services.
Yeah, it's to watch now.
Okay, but like to watch later.
Yes.
Russell, is that should be working, we check it.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Yes. Can you, that's enough, okay? Friends, I welcome you to the memorial of Sybil Barbara Silverman, Sarah Bat Mordechai Emil, a dear lady, an establishment, an institution in this congregation, and a person who meant much to us all. And what we're going to do is I will start with some the readings, the introductions. We'll have some speeches and presentation and some messages and time to reflect here. And then we'll conclude with the traditional El Maleh Rachamim and Kaddish prayer. And I thought, what should I introduce today? And I thought, what psalm represents the shul? Because for me, civil master, an essential part of the Bet Immanuel community. And I want to share with you the Psalm 90, which is in mosaic on the mosaic wall at the foyer to the shul. It goes like this: Adonai ma'on ata ha'ita lanu bedor vador, beterem harim yuladu, vatcholel eretz vatevel, u'ma'olam ad olam ata el, 1000 שנים בעיניך, כי יום אתמול כי יעבור, והשמועה בלילה. לבנות ימינו כהודה, ונביא לבב חוכמה, וינועם אדוני אלוהינו עלינו, ומעשה ידינו כוננה עלינו, ומעשה ידינו כוננהו. Eternal God, you have been our refuge in all generations, before the mountains were born, and before the earth and the universe brought forth. From eternity to eternity, you are the eternal one. 1,000 years in your sight, about as yesterday when it is past, or as a watch of a night. Our years come to an end like a sigh. They are soon gone, they fly away. So teach us to number our days, that we may grow wise in heart. Satisfy us in the morning with your loving kindness, that we may rejoice and be glad in all our days. That your servants understand your ways, and their children see your glory. That your favor, eternal one, our God, be with us, and may our walk have lasting value, that the work of our hand be enduring. Out of Isaiah 40, כל עומר קרא ואמר מה אקרא, כל הבשר חציר וכל חסדו כציץ השדה. יבש חציר נבל ציץ, כי רוח אדוני נשבה בו, אכן חציר העם. יבש חציר נבל ציץ, ודבר אדוני אלוהינו לעולם יקום. The voice said, cry out, and I said, what shall I cry? Of flesh is like the grass, and its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades, when the wind from the eternal blows upon him. Surely the people are grass, the grass withers, the flower fades. But the word of the Lord our God abide forever. Out of the book of Job. There is a mine for silver. There's a place for gold to be refined. Iron is taken out of the earth, and the copper is smelted from the ore. But where does wisdom come from? Where is the place of understanding? Surely the fear of God is wisdom. The depart from evil is understanding. Happy are those who follow your teaching and seek you with their whole hearts. And finally, on this opening section, Psalm 23. Adonai roido echsa bin odeh sheyarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenahaleni nafshi yeshuv yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shmo גם כי אלך בגיא צר מוות לא אירא רע כי אתה עמדי שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צוררי לישנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Stand to David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You maketh me to lie down in green pastures, you leadeth me beside the still water, you restoreth my soul. You guided me in the path of righteousness for the sake of your name. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. I'd like to call Lily to lead the speeches and the eulogies.
Thank you all so much for being here. It really means a lot. We know Sybil touched so many people's lives, and thank you so much to those who are joining on Zoom. I know so many important people couldn't be here today, and it's wonderful to be able to have you with us. So first up is my father, Owen Lenoyam, who's going to speak on behalf of himself and my mom and give some history on Sybil. Also to say, like, the bathroom is out there. Ladies is straight, men is that way. Use whatever you want. If you need it, if you need a moment to go outside, you are very welcome to. Yeah, we're going to have a few speech of the family speaking, and then we're going to open the floor up for people to speak, and then the rabbi is going to come back and lead the conclusion, and then we're going to have some tea.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Many people have sent tributes to Sybil over the last few days, and invariably they describe her as larger than life, which is remarkable in a woman who was actually quite small in stature, even when elevated on high by her inevitable 5-inch stiletto heels. But it's true, Sybil was something of a force of nature. She was an attractive young woman who made it her life's work to defy nature and make sure she stayed that way. She could be generous above and beyond all sensible limits. She was deeply, passionately, obsessively committed to her family. She was a dinner party hostess on the thermonuclear scale. She could be adamant in her opinions, particularly those that were manifestly wrong. She could be neurotically anxious about nothing in particular. She could be your best friend or someone you did not wish to cross swords with. But buried deep inside her, and apparent only to her family and her closest friends, she had enormous courage, in particular relating to a little-known family tragedy. Her ancestry and early life are shrouded in mystery, mainly because she preferred it that way. She insisted on celebrating her every birthday in grand fashion and woe betide anyone who failed to phone through congratulations in good time. But not even her daughter was allowed to know her actual age. She was born Sybil Barbara Stout, the daughter of a very sensible accountant who did charitable work across the Jewish community, and a mother nicknamed, for good reason, Dottie Lottie, the original force of nature from whom Sybil inherited both the good and the bad. Early photographs in the family album show a very mischievous little girl growing into an attractive young woman who might have made for a career on stage. She certainly had a lifelong flair for the dramatic. The black and white photographs of her hide another of Sybil's secrets. Beneath the bottle blonde, she was actually a redhead, as was her father, and as was her daughter. Given Sybil's talent for stories with added spice, her tales about her childhood were only half believed, particularly the parts about how she was very much the cleverest girl in her class at the N Street Convent, so clever that she skipped a year and was made the head prefect. Furthermore, she was such a magnet for the boys that she could hardly keep up with the many who courted her. Only recently, when going through the dense folder of Sybil's possessions, for he never threw anything away, did Melinda, Lily, and Rosa discover firstly exemplary school reports, and secondly, wrapped in cotton wool, the head prefect badge of Enstleigh Convent. And thirdly, a secret photo album showing a teenage Sybil surrounded by a multitude of gangly adolescent boys. And the most handsome of the gangly boys was one Max David Silverman. Sybil's version, which has varied over the years in its specifics, was that they met on the Greenside trolley bus number 77 on the top floor of the bus. She on her way to the N Street Convent, he on his way to Wits University where he was studying architecture. The sight of this pretty red-haired sitting 5 rows up front on the bus, doing her utmost to ignore him, was too much for Max Silverman, who rode over on his bicycle to her parents' house in Greenside one afternoon, where Sybil noticed, among other attributes, that he had very good legs. Max also wrote her love poetry of a kind, of which one example survives. The poem seems to have been accompanied with the gift of a belt, which cost the impoverished young would-be architect 16 shillings and sixpence. It is dated the 5th of September, 1950, and it reads in total, Dear Barbara Sachs, for 16 and 6, I hope that this belt, a need sorry felt, will keep your soft tummy from rumbling so funny. Thanks. This touching poem believed to have worked its charms. They married on 9th December 1951, when Sybil was 19 years old and Max 23. The marriage would last 71 years, ending only at 6 a.m. last Sunday night, with the two of them holding hands through the bars of their hospital bed. The wedding was held at the Johannesburg City Hall. There were 1,000 guests, said Sybil. Arithmetic was never her forte, but impeachable independent witnesses recall a vast throng, Sybil looking radiant, Max looking apprehensive. Sybil qualified as a speech and drama teacher. She was rather proud of the graduation certificate, which said Trinity College, Cambridge, although Trinity College, Cambridge was in Fox Street in Johannesburg. She also became very particular about correct pronunciation, also she had her own style, either the overlong words such as luncheon rather than lunch, or the diminutives such as drinkies for drink. But Sybil quickly became a very successful speech and drama teacher and was the family breadwinner during periods when her husband, a junior architect in a profession that suffered during periods of economic recession, was unable to find work. Sybil gave birth to her first son, Stephen, in 1953. And then came the first of a series of tragedies. Stephen lived only a few weeks. There's only one blurred photograph of him. Why he died, no one knew. The family were encouraged to shake off their grief and try for another child. The second son, Seth, was born in 1955. He was a handsome little boy, seemed healthy enough, which is why 2 years later their daughter Melinda was born, followed 3 years later by a third son, Michael. But Seth developed a strange liver disease, which doctors were unable to explain or diagnose. He died before the age of 5. And then Michael, also healthy to begin with, developed the same symptoms. This time the doctors consulted specialists who said Michael had a genetic disease so rare that very few doctors had heard about it, let alone knew what to do about it. There was only one doctor who specialized in this disease, and he was based in the USA. The whole family flew to America, where the doctor recommended a long, complicated, high-risk operation. Michael did not survive the operation. His body was cremated in the USA, and the ashes were sent back to South Africa, where they are in the Wall of Remembrance at West Park. And that is why Sybil too has been cremated, so that her ashes will be alongside Mikey's, and also only a few yards from Stephen and Seth, who are buried in the children's section immediately in front of the wall. While the boys were alive and in desperate need, Sybil devoted her every moment to nursing them. The only healthy child, Melinda, was largely brought up by her grandmother, Dottie Lottie, who took the bus from Hillbrow to Parkview every day. But after Michael died, what resulted, perhaps a mechanism of coping with buried grief, was the most extraordinarily close, intense family relationship. And it manifested in various ways, one of them that Max and Sybil took to treating Melinda to a whirlwind of holidays all over South Africa and abroad, which continued well into her adulthood, often taking along Melinda's friends. Sybil herself did not travel lightly. She spent an entire week packing, unpacking, and repacking. Many an airport porter collapsed beneath the sheer weight of her belongings. And the holidays were seldom to obvious places. They trekked instead across the Himalayas at high altitude. They ascended Machu Picchu in Peru. They toured Istanbul, the pyramids, Tokyo. They sneaked into India at a time when South Africans were not allowed into India. They sneaked into China when South Africans were not allowed into China. They visited Russia immediately after Glasnost. They took the Lindblad explorer ship to the Arctic Circle. They were aboard the Achilles Lauro when the ship caught fire, a habit that continued when they visited the Mahubis Club Hotel on the night the wine cellar went up in flames, and Mount Sheba on the night the thatched roof caught fire. On return from each trip, Sybil would compile albums in which she glued not only the photographs of her shaking hands with the ship's captain or dining at the Taj Mahal, but also the train tickets, the receipts for little tsatskas like fur coats and carpets, hotel and restaurant bills, menus, postcards she wrote home. An entire room in their flat, which Sybil liked to call the library, is devoted to shelf after shelf of these albums. And wherever they went, no matter the terrain, when all around her were in tracksuits and t-shirts and tackies, Sybil dressed up. Jewelry, necklaces, lipstick, and of course, high heels hiding painted toenails. She walked the Himalayas and the pyramids and the cobbled streets of Istanbul in her high heels. She had a cupboard full of heels and one pair of non-heels, which was bought for her by her daughter and which she wore once. Nature caught up with her finally. Her toes became so tortured and sore, so full of bunions, that she was obliged to submit to a painful and humiliating operation in which the baby toe on each foot was amputated. And then, as soon as she was well enough to walk again, she went straight back to her heels. She would not wear a car seat belt because it messed her clothes and her hair, but she did adapt eventually to a COVID mask if it had matched her outfit, although the masks did play havoc with her lipstick. And then there were the dinner parties. Pop by for a little Shabbat dinner, she would say to us, and there would be 20 other people just popping by. Pesach sailors snaked through 3 densely packed rooms. Setting the tables took all week, involving configurations of cutlery and crockery and doilies known only to the royal family. Nothing struck fear into Sybil more than the possibility of under-catering. She therefore catered firstly for those she had invited, and secondly for those she had not invited. The cooking style predated modern minimalism, unburdened by newfangled notions about excessive sugar, fat, cream, cakes, or salt. Eating was compulsory. Eating a second helping was compulsory. Failing to eat a third helping was a source of disappointment. That no guests succumbed to a dinner table coronary was astonishing. Perhaps even more astonishing was that Sybil lived to almost 91 without doing a day's exercise or eating a single health-conscious meal. And yet between all this, there was a serious side to Sybil. She supported many charities, particularly the Avril Elizabeth Home and the Hope Home, not to mention the standard Jewish charities here and in Israel. Her favorite was Tape Aids for the Blind, for which she read countless books on tape in her elocution teacher's voice. She befriended many of the blind people for whom she became a regular reader, and also the mentally disabled children who were housed at these institutions. And this would occasionally result in some surprises. Sybil could suddenly pop up at a dinner party with an unexpected expertise in some esoteric subject because she had just read an entire PhD into a tape. Or when the conversation turned to a remote part of the globe which had just experienced an earthquake or a typhoon or a war, Sybil would say, "Oh, such a lovely place. We were there in 1976. Among the traits that Sybil inherited from Dottie Lottie was a certain stubbornness, which has gone down several generations. This manifested itself, for example, in a refusal to move out of their double-story house when it was obvious that both she and Max were having trouble with the stairs and were slipping and sliding on the shiny marble floors. Melinda took them to visit every retirement village in Johannesburg, none of them satisfactory. We're still too young for this, said Max, who was then 89. And there's nowhere to fit my 3 Pesach tables, said Sybil. Finally, their daughter, who had inherited stubbornness from both the maternal and paternal sides, forced them not quite at gunpoint to move with much complaining into a flat in Killarney, which is large enough for 3 Pesach tables, plus a harem or 2. But maybe Sybil and Max knew something. When COVID struck not long after, those in retirement villages were isolated from friends and family for months on end. Instead, living in their overlarge Killarney flat, Sybil and Max received family visits every day. And most remarkable was the way Melinda, Lily, and Rosa took care of them month in and month out, honoring a family culture of unsparing generosity that went back to Sybil's grandmother, Dawnfantine, who took in a string of less fortunate relatives. Max and Sybil's conditions steadily deteriorated. Max sunk slowly into dementia over a period of 4 or 5 years, reaching a point in recent months where he cannot sit upright and no longer knows where he is or who anyone is. Sybil, by contrast, was in good shape until 18 months ago, when she experienced a rapid series of small strokes that caused her first to lose some speech and then to fall and break her hip. The doctors gave her 3 months to live. She lived another 19 months. But unable to walk and confined to a wheelchair, her condition worsened to the point where she could no longer speak or feed herself. 4 nurses took wonderful care of the 2 of them, working shifts around the clock, 7 days a week, under the circumstances that were never easy. And they are here with us today. Agnes Shabang, Olga Fishleli, previous Duby, and Suku Ndlovu. Max and Sybil were joined at the hip. Theirs has been a 75-year-long story, love story, beginning when Sybil was 16 years old. They never went anywhere without one another. They joined the old Temple Emmanuel here because they could sit together. When Max was in hospital a few days, it was the separation that was the biggest source of agitation. In their last months, they have occupied hospital beds that can be raised or lowered, the bed, 2 beds side by side, where they could hold hands through the bars. On her last night on Sunday, Sybil suddenly became more alert and more talkative in ways she had not been in months, moving about and speaking in some fashion to Max for hours, holding his hand. She died at 6 in the morning on Sunday. Max, who is no longer much aware of anything in the outside world, somehow seemed aware of it. He stopped eating. He became very restless. We think the 2 of them are not going to be separated much longer. Thank you.
So whenever Rosa or myself would have to go up and read something at shul, Sybil would always say to us, speak slowly. So this is a reminder to myself and to everyone else. Most people know Sybil for being absolutely glamorous, fabulous, magnificent, a film star, diva, a queen, high heels covered in jewels with incredible style. She would turn heads when she walked into a room when she was 30, and equally so when she was 80. She was a balabosta. She was the big boss and she ran her house. She looked after Max for the 71 years they were married. She looked after her kids, and she looked after me and Rosa, alongside or perhaps perpendicular to my parents. Sybil's grandparenting style can be summarized as follows. For exactly half of my life, she was running around behind me and Rosa in her stilettos, telling us to put on a jersey and to eat. For the second half of my life, she was running around behind Max in her stilettos, telling him to put on a jersey and to eat. Every Friday, Sybil and Max would come and fetch us after school, and then we'd go spend the day at their house. For the short, maybe 20 minutes maximum drive home, Sybil packed us skatins or patkos to eat in the back of the car. They got more and more extravagant each year. By the time we were in matric, the school lunches would include a frozen juice box to eat like ice cream, freshly roasted potatoes, olives, only queen-sized olives, and even smoked salmon for us spoiled kids. She let us eat chocolate before dinner if we kept it a secret from Max, but he somehow always knew. She loved stories. She told us stories from her childhood, and she read us books in a way that transformed them to life. Sometimes she'd read stories at shul for all the children. She would play games with us when we were small. She'd get on her hands and knees and crawl around with us. We'd use the pots and pans in her kitchen to make musical instruments. We would take all the cushions in the house and throw them on the floor and line them up and make trains with her. Max and Sybil took us on adventures and holidays where Rosa and Sybil in particular would cheat and lie their way through games of putt-putt. The cheating became as much of a tradition as the putt-putt. She also taught us how to cheat our way through a game of Scrabble. Sybil and Max snuck us into casinos and taught us gambling at a very early age. They bought us a mini roulette gambling set, and Sybil would always place her bet on the number 2. She said 2 was her lucky number, 2. different arrangements of number twos. It was her lucky number, and we were lucky to have her as our biggest admirer. Sybil's journey of motherhood was extremely hard with the loss of her children. With so much pain and worries and fear and trauma, Sybil tried to protect Melinda from the world and to give her everything, but they had a very difficult relationship. And I think that when Sybil became a granny, she felt like she had another chance to do things differently. To her grandchildren, she was fully supportive. We could do nothing wrong in her eyes. She had nothing but love and acceptance for us. She was always on our team. We spent every single Shabbat with them for our entire childhood. She would tell us fantastic stories, make incredible food, play with us, talk to us. She grew to accept and love our friends like they were her own grandchildren, especially Tando. Sybil never got bored listening to us. She always had time for us. Sybil identified as religious and had a very strong belief in God, but she believed far more in customs, in culture and community than she did in rules. For her time, her relationship to Judaism was very progressive, I think. It was pragmatic and ever evolving. Judaism was a big part of her identity. But she and Max taught me that you can be Jewish in your own kind of way. They ate prawns once a week at least, but never pork. They never skipped a Shabbat. If we were off on holiday somewhere, we'd do an improvised DIY Shabbat with whatever we could find lying around. Perhaps some salty cracks for the kitka, either orange juice or sherry for the wine. Our parents assigned Sybil and Max to be entirely responsible for our Jewish education. There were many other aspects of our education that we got from Sybil. Some of the lessons I've only come to value in recent years. Some of them are as follows. Number one, she taught us about bravery. In particular, you can face any new, difficult, or unfamiliar situation or adventure by finding the perfect outfit for it. Number two, she taught us about love. She told us stories about a lot of boyfriends who would come to her house. Lots of boyfriends, a lot of boyfriends. Some were short, some were tall. All of them were handsome, and most of them were rich. Most of them had cars, but not Max. He only had a bicycle. Well, initially, she turned up her nose at him, which is what they used to do back in the day before you could block people. She looked beyond his bicycle, and she decided that he was the one. Sybil also taught us to not let anything stop you from being who you were born to be. Sybil was born to be fabulous, glamorous, a queen. And a lesson from her is to not even let your body stop you from being who you're born to be, which is an important lesson in my community. As my dad has mentioned in great detail, Sybil always wore fashionable, elegant, tight and pointy high heels. And at around 80, when her toes were so broken that she couldn't fit into anything other than practical shoes, she knew she was not one for practical shoes. So with an operation, in no time, she was back in heels where she belonged. Sybil and Max taught us about family and how the most important thing is the time you spend with your people. Sybil never pressured us, me and Rosa, to become doctors or lawyers or wives. All she wanted for us was to be around and to spend lots and lots and lots of time with them. By Jewish grandmother standards, at least, she never really pressured us to find good Jewish boys. While she did offer some suggestions, she was fairly satisfied with what we did end up with. Neither Jewish nor boys, but very much Mensch's. Yanni, Rosa's partner, was the only person in this world that Sybil would trust to carry her handbag. And both our partners were completely accepted into the family. The love and acceptance that we had from our grandparents was also such an important lesson to me. They loved us and we loved them endlessly. Me and Rosa have almost nothing in common with Sybil and Max. We have completely different values, lives, choices, and interests. A lot of things they did even disappointed us a lot. But I learned from that you can still love someone completely and accept them entirely for who they are, despite all these differences. Sybil could smile and charm her way into or out of any situation. With such charm and charisma, mixed together with being a real fierce tough cookie, with a sharp tongue that could come out on occasion, and a very stubborn, unshakable sense of what needed to be done, when and how, Sybil was not one to ever take no for an answer. Apparently, this was also true of Sybil's mother and Sybil's grandmother, and it's also true of my mother and myself. The blood of these real tough matriarch Ballabusters runs strong through us. She taught us to stand our ground. I need to mention my grandpa and their incredible relationship. A love story straight out of a Disney movie. Sybil was Max's queen. He adored her. He never stopped talking about how beautiful she was. He never took her for granted, and he always knew he lucked out. Out of every guy on the planet, he was the one who had the most beautiful wife in the world. Max was her Prince Charming, but she also looked after him and took care of him. Her world was entirely centered around him. Every single decision that Sybil made, at least in her older age, was made to please Max. I want to say some thank yous. We're very grateful to the Beit Emmanuel community for being Sybil and Max's special place. This shul has been an extended family for them, a place where they really belonged, a home, and also a place where they were royalty. And also as the Silver Manoim family, we want to say that we are beyond grateful to Agnes and Olga and Phoebus and Suku, the wonderful, caring women who looked after Sybil and Max. Oh, sorry, I lost my notes. There we go. As my mom would always say, we wake up every day and we give thanks for them. We really thank Agnes for being there from day one, for her extraordinary calm and serenity. Today, she's kindly looking after Max, so she couldn't be here, and we really appreciate that. Olga, we thank you for your hard work doing night shifts with patience. And as such a sophisticated and stylish woman yourself, you made sure that everything was set up to Sybil's very high standards. Previous, we thank you so much for your cheerfulness and generosity and always bringing presents to Sybil and Max and for the life that little Samuel brought into their home. And Suku, we thank you for your extraordinary 5-star cooked meals and making sure Sybil was dressed up like the queen she was. We also want to give a special mention to Joseph, who Sybil absolutely adored. She loved to gossip with you about the neighbors, and you looked after them for even longer than I did. Sybil trusted you more than she trusted all of her whole family. So thank you all so much, the community who looked after them in these many years of their old age. I know that there aren't very many people in the world who have the kind of relationship with their grandparents that me and Rosa did. And we are going to be forever grateful for having something like that. We're very lucky. It wasn't just the way they would spoil us, especially Sybil. It was the way they just loved and accepted us so completely. We were their everything. And so Rosa and I hope to carry on that legacy of love and care. Thank you all. And now Rosa's going to play some slides, a movie.
Yeah, so I didn't want to speak, so I made a cool movie and then we'll say. Yeah.
Get no kick from champagne. Your alcohol. Yeah. So tell me, why should it be true that I get a kick out of you? Some they may go for cocaine. I'm sure that if I took even one sniff, it would bore me terrifically too. I get a kick out of you. I get a kick every time I see you. Sing in the rain, sing in the rain. What a glorious feeling on the I'm alive, but it's sun's in my heart, rain in my life. Let the snow fix our shakes. Everyone come on with the rain, I was singing and sing. That's an end. The world is cold. I long to spring. And the way you love. Hey there, put on your dancing shoes and come dance with me. Come dance to me, whatever you live for, some purpose for. Pretty place, I know a swing and play. Come on, dance with me. Romance with me on a crowded floor. And while the ring swings, what lovely things I'll be saying. Cause when it's dancing, making love set to music. And when the band begins to leave the stand, and folks start to run. We want to keep the secret. Come on, come on, come on, come on and dance with me. Hey there, put on your basic boots and come dance with me. Come dance with me, whatever it's for. Come, pretty place, I know a swinging place. Come on, dance with me. Romance with me on the crowded floor. Something saying, oh, what is dancing, making love, set the music. Pretty face, I know a swinging place. Oh,
Um, the number of people, relatives of Sybil and Max in America and Canada sent messages, and we'd like to read a few extracts from those. So from Wayne Getz in California, who's a cousin of the family. Your message opened a floodgate of memories for me. The extraordinarily vivacious and entertaining Sybil, the wonderfully capable and wry Max, our genial Uncle Harry, the charming house at 61 Kerry Street, Parkview, and a very special and sweet Mikey, and the difficult decades of heartbreak for your family. And then, of course, you, Melinda, the little girl who took 4 times longer than expected to exit her terrible twos, only to turn into a true and rare angel. I cannot imagine how emotionally difficult this is for you, Lily and Rosa. Rarely was there a more closely knit family than yours with your folks. And then from Sybil's niece, Marlene Sachs, in Canada. I always thought Sybil and Max would live forever, and if and when they went, they would leave together. I always think of them as one of the most devoted, loving couples I've ever known. Together, they were my wonderful, loving, caring uncle and aunt. I have so many wonderful memories of visiting and staying in Kerry Road, where Sybil showed me how a perfect hostess operates, how a devoted wife. She had drinks and snacks ready for Uncle Max every day when he returned from work. I also remember sitting in the books and object-filled study, going through the photo albums of their many trips, India being the favorite one shown to me many times. She made me feel loved from when I was a little girl. I still have the gifts she brought me from all over the world, the huge and beautiful Japanese dolls, the bracelets, all the birthday cards she sent. Our last visit with Sybil and Max was pre-COVID in 2019 at their new Killarney flat with a veranda and a beautiful garden. Sybil and Max sat on the sofa next to each other while Lily poured tea in china cups. Max couldn't stop saying how beautiful Sybil was and how much he loved her and that she was special in every way. From Michael Pincus in California. Ever since I met Sybil, she showed kindness and warmth to me. She exuded a spirit of affection and love of family. This was also evident in her creativity and aesthetic sensibility, her beautiful garden, her fashion individuality, her decoration of her homes, her love of cooking and baking. Her excitement for life was evident in her curiosity, sense of the dramatic, love of reading and travel. She was a personality and individual, generous of heart, who had human insights and a keen eye that missed nothing. From Tando Maurice in the Netherlands. So many wonderful memories and times together. We've lost our granny. It can't be easy for you guys who've been there through all of it. Take care of her so long and with so much love. From Michelle Salona in America. Sybil cast an enormous light on the world around her. Her generosity and huge personality will always be remembered. She left us with a multitude of Sybil stories. She was an amazing presence whose soul resides in all of us. From David Salona in America. They don't make them like that anymore. She was one of a kind.
Okay, so now we're going to open up to whoever would like to speak that's here today. Everyone is welcome to, but we do ask that you keep it concise and short, so that we can go and eat all the salmon maybe. But if you would like to speak, please come up. Should we? Yeah, I guess people can like queue. If you want, if there are a lot of people who want to speak. Come up. Who wants to speak? Come up. Oh, okay. I must introduce you. Okay. This is Hilary, and she was my mom's friend growing up, and therefore she knew Sybil and Max for far longer than I did. And she was always in their house and going on holidays when they went to Japan. Yeah.
Yes, I think I met Max and Sybil and Melinda when I was probably about 12. And I wasn't aware at that stage, and not for a long time after, how much tragedy they had had in their life, because Melinda's brothers weren't really spoken of in the house. It was at that stage, it would have been too new and so painful. And as everyone has said, they responded to this by traveling the world. And one of the things which people haven't captured about Sybil, I mean, her outfits were just astonishing, and Melinda and I were an enormous disappointment to her in the style stage, but really massive. I suppose, understandably, it wasn't really worth even trying to compete with it. But the one feature that people haven't mentioned is Sybil was incredibly adventurous. She would try anything. I remember as on that Japan trip, she would there were these rather timid and sheltered, well, I was timid and sheltered, sort of northern suburbs, Joburg girls, being dragged around the back streets of Tokyo looking for, I couldn't tell you what, probably sushi actually, which would be an adventure in itself. And she was really not like other mothers. She was just had this joy of life and the sense of adventure, which was extraordinary. And which she's passed on to Melinda and the girls, sort of how to live, if you like. But the other thing which I really wanted to mention, which nobody has mentioned, is an absolutely extraordinary job that Melinda and Erwin and the girls have done in the past many years of looking after Sybil and Max. I don't know anyone else who has invested this much love and care and skill and resource in looking after their aging and not easy parents. And if there's tribute that's needed here, it really is to Melinda and to Erwin and to the girls. And I wish you long life.
Thank you so much. Suku is one of the nurses that looked after Sybil and Max and had a very special relationship with Sybil, probably because she started working last and therefore Sybil was already ready to accept nurses, whereas she gave Agnes a real tough time. And they had such a wonderful relationship.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Subu. Sybil used to call me Sue. I'm one of Sybil's caregivers. I have known Sybil for the shortest time amongst all caregivers, since August 2021 to be precise. Sybil was a very lovely woman. From the very first day, she made me feel so welcome. It was such a pleasure to be around her, and being at her service gave me a renewed sense of purpose. It is a fact that we're never ready to say goodbye to our loved ones forever, despite their age, even though we know it is part of life. Sybil, you have gone home. Though you have departed from this earth, you will still be alive in our hearts and mind. I will remember you for always being on point and always looking neat and tidy. Your curly hair, red nails, nice jewelry, and red lipstick. What I learned from you is love. You have unconditional love. You had unconditional love for your husband, Max. I remember when you were still mobile, you didn't want anyone to clean Max up after the toilet. You wanted to do it yourself. Even when you were on the chair, you would worry about Max's welfare. You would ask questions like, did Max eat? Max needs a jersey. It is sorrowful that this chain is broken. My deepest condolences. To Melinda, to Erin, to Lily and Rosa, may the love of God, family and friends comfort you during this difficult time. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
And now I'd like to ask Olga to please speak. Olga was there through some of the tough times. She's seen all sides of Sybil. Sybil was always a carer. She was the one who was going to care. And it took her a really, really hard and long time to accept that she needed people to care for her. And so she was very difficult, but Olga was patient and kind and caring and stuck through it. So thank you. We love you.
But you eulogical Mrs. Remember about Sybil.
I would like to greet everyone in the name of Jesus Christ. Today I stand here to pay tribute to Mrs. Sable Barbara Silverman. In the moment of grief, it is difficult to come to terms with the cost of loved one. I want to thank everyone who are present here today to honor our late Mrs. Silverman. We used to call her the Queen of Killarney. And she liked it. She said, yes, I am the Queen of Killarney. And to give her last respect, a lot exaggerated in times like this, as they said, the honor for the dead. On the 2nd of March, it was my first day. I was coming from leave. I just took 2 weeks leave because I was tired. I didn't take leave on December. On the 2nd of March, 2023, at the late night, because I'm only working night, at about 10 o'clock, I thought that there was something wrong with Sibora. About her, she was vomiting. And she kept on vomiting until early in the morning, about 4 o'clock. That is where I called her daughter, Melinda. And she came. And then I told her that Sybil is not okay. And then she saw what happened to Sybil. And then she tried to call the sisters to come and assist Sybil about that. On the 3rd of March, during the night, I also called the granddaughter, Rosa. And she came because I asked her to come because the situation was not okay. And then I said to her, come and help me. It was difficult to me. She came and helped me during the night and then she left. And then she was not okay the whole night also. She kept on vomiting. So on the 4th of March, it was on Sunday. Sybil didn't want to take even water. Sybil didn't want to drink anything because she used to love sweet things. So I used to give her yogurt and the Altamel. She liked to eat those. Then I mixed with some hair tablets. She used to, but on Sunday she didn't take. And then what I did, because I saw something, I just took a chair and then I sit nearby the bed. And then I keep on rubbing her. I keep on rubbing her. And then I never see people in the short period stretching her hands. But she was, even the hands was opening like this, and the hands, she was stretching her hands, holding Max, and calling Max during the night. I said, oh my God, I don't know what is happening, but let me keep myself strong. And then I pray, I said, God, give me the strength now, because I can see there's something going wrong here. In my mind, I didn't think of calling Melinda or Lily or Rosa, because I was so busy. She was so busy also, talking and calling, but the thing she was talking, you know, when you're old and then when you lost your mind, you don't understand. But she was saying something clean. I want clean clothes. I want clean clothes. I want clean clothes. Something. She was very clean. She was very clean. And she was so beautiful. Sybil was beautiful. This is what happened on the 4th during the night. She kept on holding Meg's hand, and she kept on holding my hand. Also calling Max. I don't know why I was thinking of taking the small video for her calling Max, which is her husband, and stretching the hands, holding Max, because she never did that such a long time. But that day she did it. And then during the night, I was with her for the whole night, that day on the 4th of March, until the last moment of her life. I was trying to bath her on the 5th in the morning. I started to bath her from 5:45. So I used to take her from bed and put her in the commode, and then is where I bath her in the commode. So because we wanted her maybe to pass urine while she's sitting there. I didn't finish. I only wash the top. I didn't finish to wash it. So I was so hurt. I didn't have any choice because I was alone. I quickly took her to bed. On my arms, while I'm taking her to bed, is where I saw that symbol is gone because the head just go like this. And then it's where I saw that she passed away. I took her to bed, I took the sheet, I covered her, and then I called her daughter Melinda and Rosa. They came very quickly. It was not easy. It was not easy that moment of the day. And then I didn't have another choice. I was alone in the house with her and her husband, Max. Finally, I would like to thank all of you who came today, friends, relatives, especially her nursing staff. I salute you guys, the staff, nursing who was looking after Sibyl. I salute you guys. We did a very good job. I can see. I appreciate what the family did to us also. They always appreciate what we did. Because sometimes when we do something, you don't know whether you're doing the right thing or you're doing the right thing, but they appreciate every time. They said, guys, thank you very much for looking after our grandma and grandfather. And she was, so whatever you're talking with Sibyl, her family first, especially the twins, Lily and Rosa. When are they coming to take me for lunch? Sometimes Melinda said to us, you must dress my mom and dad, we're gonna come and take her for lunch at 1 o'clock. But if you tell them that it's 1 o'clock, 10 o'clock they are ready, they want to go. They don't sit down, they're going up and down, until we said, no, don't tell them that you're taking them out. They must just see you coming at least. we know that you're gonna bath them and dress them. So you can just go and take them out because they like to go out. I don't want to lie. They like to go out. When are we going out? When Melinda is coming? When Rosa is coming? One day, I think it's Lily or Rosa, told Max that he's gonna go out for lunch. And then I couldn't hold Max. He opened the door, he wanted to go, but it was during the night. I don't know why he said he wanted to go for lunch during the night. And then I opened the door for him. I wanted him, we walk downstairs, we walk in the garage. I wanted him to see that it's during the night. I saw him that this is night, can you see? Everybody's sleeping, let's go and sleep. And then it's where he believed that Melinda won't come during the night. But these are people who are not supposed to tell them that you're gonna do something for them because they want it now, not later. You must do it now. I would like to thank Joseph. I think he was tired with my calls during the night to call him because it was difficult, as I'm saying. You can't hold a person alone. Joseph, thank you very much for what you did. Thank you very much, Melinda and Edwin, for your support to your family. How can I forget the twins, Lily and Rosa? You were so supportive, guys. I like the way you support. I hope you're going to support Max as you did to Sibyl also. Please, guys, don't stop to support us also. You were very supportive. Mr. Edwin, I would like to thank you. Whatever we need, whatever we short with, you can hear the bell. Who's that now? When I open his hymn, bringing what we want. Thank you very much, guys. God bless you all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think now we're gonna ask Larissa how to lead us in closing.
Thank you for this beautiful reflection. And I'm sure there will be still opportunities for us to reach out to the family and share those thoughts, memories, anecdotes that we share as a family. I was fortunate to visit them many times, yet even in the Palms, when they live in the Palms, and that was when there were more things happening with my kids. And so on. There is a trail of people mentioned Tando. I'm hoping she's on the Zoom. We can think about Almazegnoni and others who were part of the life of this family, and I was fortunate to be part of it as well. God of infinite love, in whose hands are the souls of all living and the spirits of all flesh, here in this memorial of Sibyl, may we gratefully recall the goodness in her, and we give thanks for the consolation of memory. Strengthen us that walking through the valley of the shadow of death, we may be guided by your light. May our action and aspiration honor the loved one, surely as does this moment, should ever be a symbol of abiding devotion. So will she live as a blessing among us. I'm going to recite the El Malei Rachamim, and then I'm asking the family to recite the Kaddish. Please rise. Please rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shofei Barumi, Amtze Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashkina, נקדושים וצורים כזאת כמזלים את נשמת שרה בת מרדכי, אמיל שהלכה לעולמה, אנא בעל הרחמים, יסתיריה וסדר כנפיו לעולמי, ויצרו ויצרו החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחת, תנוח בשלום המשכבה, ונוח. God, full of compassion, dwelling in the heights, grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence. The Sibyl, Barbara, Silverman, Sarah, Bat, Mordechai, Emil, the loved one who has entered eternity, she found refuge forever in the shadow of your wings, and her soul be borne up in the bond of eternal life. For you, God, are her inheritance. May she rest in peace. Let us say, Amen. The Kaddish pray. So to conclude, Jewish memorial or funeral ends when we are approaching the deceased, and when we say we are setting you free from all earthly obligations, commitment, affiliations, associations. And the second, on the course of human life, whoever hurt you, harmed you, upset you, we hereby apologize. May there be no harshness or heaviness. God, who heals the brokenhearted and mends their wounds, grant you consolation to the mourners, strengthen and support them in the days of this grief and sorrow, and remember them and the family for good and long life. Put into the hearts the fear and love of God, to they may serve you in perfect heart, and let their later be one of peace. Amen. Like the one whose mother comforts, so I will comfort you, said the Lord, and together with Jerusalem shall you be comforted. Your sun shall never again set, neither shall your moon wane, for the Lord shall be your everlasting light, and the days of your bereavement shall be over. God makes death vanish into eternal life, and the Lord God wipes away tears from all faces, and the reproach of his people shall he remove from all the earth, for the Lord had spoken. Kaish asher imo tenachmu, ken anochi anachmechem, ubiYerushalayim tenuchamu. ויבוא בשיושך וירכך לא יאסף, כי אדוני יהיה לך לאור עולם, ושלמו ימי אבלך, וילה המוות לנצח, ומחה אדוני אלוהים דמעה מעל כל פנים, וחרפת עמו יסיר מעל כל הארץ, כי אדוני דיבר. Your civil, your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you. I feel honored and grateful that I've encountered. I had the privilege to meet you and to be part of the family in our way. And wish you long life. So what I'm asking you to do now is you will stay seated. The people of the congregation can come past and wish them long life. And there is tea and refreshments, as was mentioned. So Lily, I will open that thing while you're shaking hands. Okay, me and Yannick will serve the food. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We're going.
Sorry, I didn't think when I came in.
Spent on this,
One or two. Anything to happen with me.
I'm a little bit dizzy again.
I'm not for the very end, and first thing there'll be a fire show. And the most important is, you know, don't cut my hair. Then I was remember. I will all need to pass my house and regards. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Linda. See you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Social duties. So there's another social duty regarding the formalities or.
And I think you must find someone to have a cottage, you know. And we go now. We'll go to the one with Jay.
We never leave this.
Let's say hello to our family.
Stand up there.
Tando's here. And Sue's here with David and Sherry. I guess you can't hear anything. How do we unplug things?
What?
Okay. Hey, Tando.
Hi, Tando.
They're still there.
That's under
Kind
the
of.
video.
Long
guess it-
life, everyone. Long life and lots of love.
Yeah, thank you so much for the. Wait and share. All right, lots of love to you all. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us. What do we press English?
Hi, guys.
All right. Oh, we
Hi.
didn't watch.
Hi. Hello. Oh, I'm so sad. Can you hear?
We saw such beautiful, we've got like some funny pictures of all of our family Zoom calls over.
I saw, so it was a bit hard to see.
Live.
Maybe we could see those. I don't know if you can send us those photos.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you, we can send you everything. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sad. I was just